Hello students, welcome back to my class. Today we are going to study one of the prose essays of D.H.Lawrence, Why the Novel Matters. D.H.Lawrence, as we know, was a prominent novelist and writer of 20th century who subscribed to the style of writing in novel with the stream of consciousness. And his writing is also very controversial because he didn't subscribe to the conventional ideas and he believed strongly in the naturalism on the part of human relationship, particularly the man-woman relationship. He depicted in his novels in a most natural, unaffected manner, which antagonized many people, and even one of his novels was banned for quite a long period. But as a prose writer, as an essayist, he is very singular in presenting his ideas with arguments, with comparisons, with examples, and at the same time, he is not very technically sound in writing the prose essays, nor he gave any importance to the technical refinement, because mostly he is a passionate, spontaneous writer of prose who also is very sincere in his approach. And because of his spontaneity, the imaginative power that we find in his prose essays are quite remarkable. And his singularity of the ideas that he presented within his essays sometimes made him repeat the important words and phrases from his point of view. And as a result, we find that the repetition of this vocabulary makes the essay quite attractive to the reader, or it impresses the mind of the reader and underlines the significance of his ideas. And simultaneously, he also brings out a very strong point of view of his own in every essay, which sometimes clash with the conventional ideas, and thus Lawrence remains very controversial as a writer. And another feature of his essay writing or prose writing is his intensity. The intensity of his thought or his ideas, though many critics rejected his original ideas and thoughts as very nonsensical, but still Lawrence is quite popular among the readers for propounding some new ideas, some new approaches towards the conventional matters. The present essay, Why the Novel Matters, is all about the supremacy of novels as a genre over others. Lawrence, as a novelist, is making an attempt to establish novel as the most significant part of human literature, and he is making elaborate comparison with philosophy, religion, science, and even poetry to prove the supremacy of the novel. So he begins the essay in his own way by telling that we have curious ideas of ourselves. So, what are the curious ideas of ourselves? That we have a conventional idea that we are having different existences within the individual. That the individual is having the physical existence, the bodily existence, the body, the soul, the mind, and all that. But Lawrence is immediately dismissing all these ideas as nonsensical. He is telling that it is a funny sort of superstition. He is calling it as superstition. We are believing, but there is no basis to believe it. That there are souls, there are minds outside the body. So he is elaborating that how he is looking at his body and how he is finding that his body is the only vital or supreme existence he is having. Therefore, his existence is confined by the boundaries of his body. And he is telling, why should I imagine that there is a me which is more me than my hand is? Since my hand is absolutely alive, me alive. If my hand is alive, I am alive. So why something, soul or mind, they will be very superior to any part of the body or the body as a whole? That is his argument. Then he is giving the example of writing with the pen, and he is telling the people may believe that the pen is writing, but the pen is not alive. So how it could create anything? What is being created is created by the hands which are alive. Therefore, he is making the comparison between the pen and the fingers. And he is telling, only my fingernails, those 10 little weapons between me and an inanimate universe, they cross the mysterious Rubicon between me alive and things like my pen, which are not alive in my own sense. So he is trying to assert that the pen can never be alive. Therefore, the pen has no life. The pen cannot write anything. If it is being written, it is written by the body. The 10 fingers. So, seeing my hand is alive and me alive, wherein it is just a bottle or a jug or a tin can or vessel of a clay, any of the rest of that nonsense. So, he is telling and he is asserting in this manner that all inanimate objects are not important in comparison to the animate living objects or living bodies. Then he is telling that then what is the idea, that how the argument can be established that the body is superior to the soul or the mind. He is giving the examples of a saint. He is telling a saint or a person may tell about the paradise, but the concept of the paradise is afterlife. So, afterlife, when the body is dead, so how can we believe, how can we be convinced that there is some more meaning when the body, the creator of all meaning in life, is dead? So paradise is afterlife, and I for one am not keen on anything that is afterlife. So he is very convincingly declaring that he is not believing in afterlife. Even if it is paradise, he doesn't subscribe to that. If you are a philosopher, you talk about infinity and pure spirit which knows all things. Then he is giving the example of the philosopher. The philosophers talk about infinity, and he is telling that infinity and the pure spirit, these are also not having any significance for him. He doesn't attach much significance to them. Why? Because he is telling that the body is the receiver of all knowledge. If there is a fire, the finger burns and we know it is fire. So that is the knowledge. Philosophy is not an absolute knowledge. It is just the proposition of a knowledge. It is not based on the living experiences which is true to our existence. Therefore, he is telling, for the sum of all knowledge, it can't be anything more than an accumulation of all the things I know in the body, and you, dear reader, know in the body. So he is telling the sum total of our knowledge is gathered or collected by the experiences of the body, not beyond that. If we do not have the body, we can't gather any knowledge. And again, he is bringing the comparison between the philosopher and others, and he is telling these damned philosophers, they talk as if they suddenly went up in steam and were then much more important than they are when they are in their sorts. He is telling that the philosophers sometimes claim or behave as if they are the most superior creatures. They know everything in this world and all others are fools, all others are ignorant. But that is not the thing. How? Every man, philosopher included, ends in his own fingertips. The philosopher is having a body, and that body gives him the knowledge. Therefore, that is the end of his man alive. So, if he would not have been alive, he would never have been a philosopher. So, his knowledge is coming from the body. And he is telling that the knowledge of the philosopher or the saint, they are just like the tremulations in the ether, like the radio waves or radio messages. If the philosopher thinks that his knowledge is superior, but it is not, they are just like the tremulations in the air. They are not able to touch, like the tremulations of a body touching the tremulation of another body, or transmitting the tremulation from one body to another. Only the living body can transmit the tremulation, the feeling within. Philosophy and spiritualism, religion, they are written in very sound words, very correctly, very refinedly, but they are unable to make any tremulation or transmit any tremulation to the body. They may affect sometimes our mind, so-called mind, but they cannot influence the body, they cannot be transmitted into the body. Therefore, he is telling that all this spirit stuff is just tremulation upon the ether. But on the other hand, he is telling the tremulation of the body is the true tremulation. Therefore, he is telling that life with a capital I is only man alive. Therefore, the importance lies with life living. The importance is not there in abstract philosophy or mind or spiritualism and religion. The real significance of our existence lies with our experience of living. Therefore, he is telling all things that are alive are amazing. So, living things are amazing. We can't simply imagine such a vast variety of living forms, such a vast variety of living experiences, unending, incountable, infinity. The infinity is there in the living. The infinity is not there in the philosophy. Therefore, he is giving the example by telling, better a live dog than a dead lion, and better a live lion than a live dog. So, life is much more important in whatever form it may be over any other form of expression or existence. And he is calling the saints and the philosopher and the scientist as failures to stick to this simple truth. He is telling it seems impossible to get a saint or a philosopher or a scientist to stick to this simple truth. They don't follow the simple truth of life, living, the paramount significance of living. They are all in a sense renegades. Therefore, he is calling them as renegades. The philosopher on the other hand, because he can think, decides that nothing is but thoughts matter. The philosopher gives importance to thought, and he thinks as if the thought can be the creator of everything, because the philosopher always says there is always a thought before action. Every action is preceded by a thought. But Lawerence is discounting that by telling that it is the unpredictable nature of the body that goes for the action, not the thought. We may think something, but we may not act in the same manner. We may act differently. And that is the discrepancy between the life force and the thought, the ideal. Why we are unable to be ideal? Because our life is governed by itself. Life is leading itself. And as for the scientist, he has absolutely no use for me so long as I am man alive. And for the scientist, the living body has nothing to do, because he only analyzes the dead body. He is talking about the 20th century. The scientist only analyzes the dead body to find out, to know. But he doesn't try to find what the living body is doing, how the living body is behaving in different manners. Science is still unable to explain any action of man. Science is telling there are numerous neurons in our brain which are deciding each and every action. Therefore, it is very unpredictable. We can't predict it. And he is telling that now I absolutely flatly deny that I am a soul or a body or a mind or an intelligence or a brain or a nervous system or a bunch of glands or any of the rest. So he is telling, I am, or my existence is not a brain. D.H.Lawrence is neither a brain nor a thought nor a nervous system, nothing. But D.H.Lawrence is a living body. The whole is greater than the part. So, the body, these things, the mind, soul, glands and all these things, they are the part of the body. Therefore, the whole is better than the part. And therefore, I who am man alive am greater than my soul. Therefore, he is telling, if I am alive, I am greater than my soul, I am greater than my mind, I am greater than any thought, consciousness or anything else that is merely a part of me. I am a man and alive. I am man alive, and as long as I can, I intend to go on being man alive. Therefore, he is telling, as long as I can, I will try to be a man alive. And he is dismissing the scientist, saint, and the philosopher and the poet, who are all great masters of different bits of man alive. They are masters of different aspects of human life, but never gets the whole hog. They are not comprehensive in their knowledge. They are not comprehensive in their search for knowledge. The novel is the one bright book of life. Books are not life. They are only tremulations on the ether. And he is declaring that novel is the one bright book of life. And any ordinary book, this is just the tremulation on ether. It doesn't touch the life of man. It doesn't touch or transmit the tremulation. But a novel can. Therefore, the novel is one bright book of life. The novel is the book of life. In this sense, Bible is a great confused novel. Then he is telling that Bible is a great confused novel. It is not a religious book. Why? Because Bible is having all human alive characters. Adam, Eve, Sarai, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, so on and so forth. It is full of living human characters. And even the Lord is another man alive in a burning bush, throwing the tablets of stone at Moses' head. The Lord is also being imagined by the reader as if the Lord is throwing those 10 commandments at the Moses on the Mount of Sinai. But the Bible is not depicting God as man, but he is behaving as man. He is the father of man, but he is not man. He is not living. He is eternity, infinity. Therefore, he is calling the Bible as a confused novel. The 10 commandments, said the old Adam, shivering in me, warning me that I am a thief and a murderer unless I watch it. But even that old Adam is only a bit of me. And he is also discounting that idea that Lawerence is not the successor of Adam. Adam is only a part in the existence of Lawerence, because the concept of Adam is about the morality. So morality is a part of only our existence. It is not the wholeness of our existence. Therefore, he is telling that it gives me the warning that I am a thief and a murderer. But even the old Adam is only a bit of me. Then he is talking that I do ask that the whole of me shall tremble in its wholeness sometime or other, and this of course must happen in me living. But as far as it can happen from a communication, it can only happen when a whole novel communicates itself to me. And he is expecting that the living existence of man can communicate in a comprehensive manner, in a holistic manner, only through the novel, because the novel is presenting the life in a holistic manner, in a comprehensive manner. Therefore, it can only happen when a whole of novel communicates itself to me. So by going through the novel, we can communicate with the life force in a complete manner. They set the whole tree trembling with a new access of life. They do not just stimulate growth in one direction. The novel stimulates the life in all the directions, not in one direction. And he is telling that science, religion, philosophy, they stimulate life in only one direction. And when we will move in one direction, that will be the cul-de-sac or destruction. We will be devastated if we will be moving in one direction. We will be only partial in our approach to the life. There is no absolute good. There is nothing absolutely right. All things flow and change, and even change is not absolute. So he is telling, in the flow of life, nothing is absolute. Nothing is permanently good. Nothing is permanently bad. Nothing is permanently right. Nothing is permanently wrong. Life goes on and life changes on. Change is life and life is change. They are inseparable. Therefore, change is even not absolute. The change can also change. Therefore, I am very curious assembly of incongruous parts. So he is declaring that man is a very curious assembly of incongruous parts. There are different parts of man. If man's body desires something, mind is desiring something else. Spirituality is desiring something else. The head wants something, the hand is behaving in a different manner. But as a whole, they perform a very enjoyable and very animated existence. And he is telling, if there won't be any change in life, it will be very stale, and he will even not love her beloved if she will also not change. Rather, she will love the paper pot. But in all this change, I maintain a certain integrity. But at the same time, he is telling that the change of life is ever changing, but in that ever changing nature of life, there is also certain integrity. And what is that integrity? That is the idea of myself, and that I am trying to cut myself out to pattern. The idea of myself, that is the integrity. Though I am performing different actions, but everything is me. I can be a butcher, I can be a philanthropist, I can be a farmer, I can be a technocrat, I can be anything, I can be anything, I can be a cook, I can be an executive. But everywhere there should be that idea of myself, that feeling. That means we should enjoy our life in each and every aspect of its expression. And a character in a novel has got to live or it is nothing. And now he is coming to the characteristic of the novel, that as life is ever changing, so those novels which follow that pattern of ever changing, or which is popularly called as the novels of growth, they are the best, that according to D.H.Lawrence. So D.H.Lawrence is following the 19th century writers like Henry James, who propounded the theory of the novel like organic in form, and other novelists like George Eliot also advocated the organic novels, because the organic novels or the organic form of literature only appropriates the true essence of life, which is unpredictable, unexpected, unimaginable at any moment, any particular moment. So he is telling, men get ideas into their heads of what they mean by life, and they process to cut life out to pattern. That conventionally people always go for patterns, they always follow the routines, but Lawrence is rejecting that routined, patterned attitude to life. Therefore he is telling, the novels of growth or the organic novels are the true representative of the essential life. In all this wild welter, we need some sort of guide. It is no good inventing thou shalt nots. And he is telling that in this life where nothing is certain, where nothing is fixed, there we need some sort of guide. And what is that guide? That guide, according to Lawrence, is the intuition. The intuition of love, the intuition of hatred, the intuition of anything. So he is telling that is the guide. As man alive, you may have a shot at your enemy, but as a ghastly simulacrum of life, you may be firing bombs into men who are neither your enemies nor your friends, but just thinks you are dead too, which is criminal when the things happen to be alive. And he is also talking about the aberrations of 20th century when people behaved in a mad manner, indiscriminate firing in the stations, hospitals, schools, what even are taking place nowadays. So he is telling it doesn't show that that man is alive, though he is living. But what he is doing, it is against life. What he is doing, he is totally unconscious of. Therefore, he is rejecting those forms of life as living experiences. He is telling them as criminal when the things happen to be alive. When we are alive and we become unconscious about our life itself without enjoying the unexpected, unpredictable nature of life, but going for certain violence that takes out the life, that is a criminality. To be alive, to be man alive, to be the whole man alive, that is the point. Therefore, he is telling that to him, to alive and the whole man alive, that is the moot point. That is the important point of his argument. But in the novel, you can see plainly when the man goes dead, the woman goes inert. And he is rejecting those other writings, those other literature, those other novels who are following a rational approach. He is telling as life is not rational, life is unpredictable, incalculable. So, rationality doesn't work. And if we have to bring rationality into novel writing, that novel can never be great novel. That novel cannot create the tremulation in our life force. Therefore, he is telling right and wrong is an instinct, but an instinct of the whole consciousness in a man, bodily, mental, spiritual at once. So, right and wrong, according to Lawrence, is not the ethics or the morality of philosophy or spirituality. Rather, the right and wrong are the instincts of our whole consciousness. And it is bodily, mental, spiritual at once, simultaneously. When we have that consciousness of right, wrong, that is called as instinct. And that is the real essence of life force. Then he is telling finally that only in the novel are all things given full play, or at least they may be given full play, when we realize that life itself and not inert safety is the reason for living. We are not living for our safety, we are not living for long days to live. We have to live fully our life. That is the advocacy of Lawrence. And novels represent that life force, that aspect of life. Therefore, novels, according to Lawrence, are the best among the different genres of literature. And In this way, we find that his essays are energetic and they are stating his original thoughts and feelings. It is his original thoughts and feelings. He is not borrowing, he is not making any quotation from critics or history or any other source. And he is very much subjectively involved with his thoughts. Therefore, he is very convincing in his approach. Two types of questions can be asked here. One is how Lawrence compares novel with science, philosophy, and religion, and even poetry. Or the question also can be asked about Lawrence's argument about the supremacy of the novel and its connectedness with the throbbings of life or tremulations of life. What he means by transmitting the tremulation and how novel is able to transmit that. I think you can answer it very well after going through the text. Thank you.